Despite the glittering tiaras and widespread awe, Princess Diana's life was much more complicated than it seemed. Although her sad death in Paris rocked the world, the questions and disputes surrounding that fatal night have persisted for decades. The whole story is still cloaked in mystery, from enigmatic details of the car accident to rumors of conspiracies and a royal family rocked by her sudden death. What transpired during those last moments? Did the narrative have more to it than we were told? Come along with us as we reveal a side of Princess Diana's legacy that few have ventured to examine, the mysteries, hardships, and unspoken truths surrounding her death. Diana's last moments in Paris. Diana's last hours played out like a heartbreaking scene in a high-stakes drama. Dodi Fayed and the couple tried to avoid the incessant paparazzi by taking a different route after dining at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. The hotel security manager, Henri, was at the wheel of their black Mercedes-Benz. Henri had experience, but his blood alcohol content was later revealed to be beyond the legal limit, which made others wonder why he was driving. Witnesses remembered the terrifying noises of the Pont de la Mort tunnel crash. When rescue personnel came, Diana was still awake, but she had severe internal injuries. There were debates on whether her life could have been saved because of the lengthy time it took to get her to the hospital because of French medical practice. These eerie last moments of one of the most adored people in the world still arouse grief and mysteries. The role of the paparazzi. The night of Diana's death was no exception to the paparazzi's relentless fascination with her. According to reports, 7 photographers were actively taking shots after the vehicle as it drove off. According to witnesses at the scene of the collision, some photographers persisted in shooting while Diana was seriously hurt. The public was outraged by this behavior, and many people blamed the paparazzi for putting their professions before people's lives. But once legal action against them ultimately led to their acquittals, attention returned to Henri's drunkenness. The tragedy revealed the toxic interplay between the public's desire for celebrity stories and the invasive tactics of tabloid photographers, leading to calls for stricter regulations on media conduct. Diana had previously warned friends about the dangers of excessive media attention, saying she felt like a hunted animal. The official investigation. French officials conducted an inquiry immediately after the collision and found that speeding and Henri's intoxication were the main contributing factors, but there was still conjecture regarding foul play. The London Metropolitan Police conducted Operation Paget in 2004, re-examining the facts after years of investigating conspiracy ideas. Although the investigation ruled out an assassination plot, it did identify flaws in the crash's circumstances, such as possible security arrangement errors. Public skepticism was stoked by critics who cited discrepancies in witness accounts and holes in CCTV footage. Diana's alleged worries about a planned accident, which were recounted in a letter to her butler, emerged and attracted new attention, adding mystery. Her death's intricacy, with its many levels of inquiry, conspiracy, and unsolved issues, guarantees that it will always be a topic of intrigue for people all over the world. Struggles with mental health. Particularly for a princess, Diana's readiness to talk about her mental health issues was groundbreaking. Her struggles with bulimia started in her early married years and were made worse by social demands and emotional neglect. By describing bulimia as a symptom of what was going on in my marriage, Diana provided a unique peek into the relationship between mental health and personal anguish in her honest interview with Panorama. Her candid bravery sparked a global dialogue about frequently taboo topics, especially among prominent people. Feelings of loneliness within the royal family, where emotional weakness was rarely recognized, added to Diana's hardships. Despite her struggles, she found comfort in her humanitarian work and therapy, demonstrating that fragility and strength coexist. The royal divorce. After being viewed as a fairy tale, Diana and Prince Charles's marriage slowly fell apart due to public and private scrutiny. Diana was deeply hurt by Charles's long-term romance with Camilla Parker Bowles, which resulted in her now famous comment, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." The strains of royal responsibilities and public expectations only made their differences even more pronounced. Their 1992 separation and 1996 divorce were unusual for contemporary British royalty and sparked discussions about the monarchy's continued relevance. Diana's post-divorce life was a time of personal empowerment despite the heartache. She reinvented herself as a global humanitarian after being released from royal restrictions and concentrating on her children and philanthropic endeavors. Her relationship with Dodi Fayed. Diana and Dodi Fayed had a brief but passionate romance. Dodi, the wealthy son of Mohamed Al-Fayed, provided Diana with a way of living that was very different from the demands of royal life. Beginning on the Al-Fayed family's yacht during a summer vacation, their connection swiftly became the subject of tabloids. Despite the lack of hard proof, there was a lot of conjecture regarding their intentions, which ranged from marriage to pregnancy. Dodi felt free and adventurous because of his extravagant lifestyle and love for Diana, but their relationship garnered more media attention. It's unclear if their relationship was a brief summer romance or something more profound. Still, it unquestionably represented Diana's wish to regain her autonomy and find happiness as she sees fit. The impact on her children. Prince William and Prince Henri, Diana's sons, were forever changed by her passing. Diana had devoted her life as a mother to exposing children to life outside of royal protocol, bringing them to fast food restaurants, amusement parks, and even homeless shelters to expose them to the outside world. William, 15, and Henri, 12, had to deal with their grief in the public eye after her unexpected death. Since then, both brothers have talked candidly about the emotional toll it took on them. Their contemporary approach to royal duties reflects Diana's principles, especially her dedication to kindness and charity. Her legacy is echoed by William's environmental activities and Henri's support of mental health. Her parenting style determined their public roles, prioritizing relatability and compassion above strict royal formality. Their personal lives also reflect Diana's influence, as both men worked to balance their families, responsibilities, and personalities, continuing her view that the monarchy should have a meaningful relationship with the populace. Conspiracy theories surrounding her death. Due to widespread mistrust and story contradictions, theories about Diana's death have continued for decades. According to a widely held belief, her death was planned to stop her from marrying Dodi Fayed, who some felt was inappropriate for the royal establishment. Others blamed MI6 or other intelligence services for Diana's supposed dangers to the status quo. The fire was fueled by a letter Diana wrote to her butler months before she passed away, in which she claimed to have feared a planned vehicle accident. These claims were refuted by Operation Paget, which found no proof of foul play. However, several questions remain unanswered, such as Henri Paul's purported ties to intelligence services and how Diana's medical treatment was handled. Although unsubstantiated, these arguments highlight Diana's life and death's significant influence on how people view authority and power. The global outpouring of grief. Diana's passing set up a global outpouring of grief never seen before. Millions of people traveled to London, leaving memorials, letters, and flowers outside Kensington Palace. Seas of bouquets served as a visual representation of the public's profound grief. Her brother Earl Spencer's eulogy, which chastised the media and royal family for their treatment of Diana, and Elton John's reinvented version of Candle in the Wind were two touching moments at her funeral, viewed by almost 2.5 billion people worldwide. The severity of the loss made it difficult for the royal family to project a more contemporary and sympathetic persona. Diana's death brought people from all walks of life together and solidified her status as a universal representation of compassion and humanity. Millions of people found her loss highly personal because of the love she poured forth and the special bond she had created with ordinary people. Her unique approach to motherhood. Diana transformed royal parenting by putting her kids' emotional health ahead of strict tradition. She insisted on being involved, accompanying Henri and William to school and including them in her charity endeavors, in contrast to earlier royal generations. She thought that to give them a sense of normalcy, she should expose them to the reality of life by setting up visits to shelters, hospitals, and even McDonald's. Diana frequently sent sincere notes to her boys when they were on the road to make sure they felt loved and understood. This caring approach sharply contrasted the royal family's customary stoicism. Diana's strategy, which prioritized relatability and emotional intelligence, was innovative for its day. Her influence can still be seen in William and Harry's parenting decisions today, as they uphold Diana's conviction that the monarchy should balance responsibility and true humanity. The role of Mohamed Al-Fayed. Dodi Fayed's affluent father, Mohamed Al-Fayed, was a major contributor to the spread of conspiracy theories over Diana's passing. He maintained from the beginning that the crash was planned to keep his son and Diana from being married, a union he said the British elite could not support. Al-Fayed also accused Prince Philip of planning the disaster, although these accusations were rejected as unfounded. His unrelenting accusations maintained media and public interest, guaranteeing the tragedy's years-long prominence. Al-Fayed's steadfast conviction in a conspiracy struck a chord with some despite the dispute, underscoring the general suspicion many people had for the participating institutions. Even while his assertions added layers of complication to an already terrible story, his fervent defense of his son and Diana highlighted the human suffering he went through. Diana's complex relationship with the royal family. Although tense, Diana's relationship with the royal family also represented a changing monarchy. Although she initially accepted her position, royal life's strict routine and emotional distance were oppressive. Her open admissions in interviews, including her bulimia battles and loneliness, were unheard of and revealed weaknesses in the institution's facade. The family was particularly uneasy about Diana's rising fame because some thought she was taking center stage over the monarchy. Diana and the Queen remained friendly despite the difficulties, and the Queen appreciated Diana's commitment to her sons and her charity endeavors. But these relationships were further strained by her post-divorce behavior, which included high-profile affairs. Diana's legacy still pushes the monarchy toward a more humane and sympathetic image. The influence of fashion. Diana's wardrobe selections were potent instruments of self-expression rather than merely fashion statements. In her early years, her closet was dominated by pastel colors and fluffy outfits, symbolizing her shyness. Her style changed into a combination of aggressiveness and elegance as she grew more self-assured. Famous attire, such as the black revenge dress she wore following Charles's infidelity confession, represented her independence. Diana famously raised millions of dollars for charity in 1997 by auctioning off her gowns, demonstrating her use of fashion for good. She was a global trendsetter because of her ability to strike a mix between relatability and glitz. Diana's fashion legacy lives on, inspiring contemporary designers and demonstrating the potency of clothing as a vehicle for empowering and resilient themes. Her advocacy for the vulnerable. Diana, the Princess of Wales, aimed to support underrepresented or stigmatized causes. Her dedication to helping the weak started early in her royal career when she traveled to leprosy institutions in nations like India and Nepal, where she engaged with patients face-to-face to debunk misconceptions about the illness. Her work in war-torn areas like Bosnia and Angola also brought attention to the risks of landmines. Diana's iconic photo of herself wearing protective gear while traversing a minefield garnered international attention and sparked attempts to outlaw landmines, ultimately resulting in the 1997 Ottawa Treaty. She advocated not only for global concerns, but also for personal ones like mental health and homelessness. For a royal, Diana was groundbreaking in her willingness to meet people where they were, shaking hands, sitting on hospital beds, and showing sympathy without passing judgment. Her efforts sparked international action and changed how public leaders could utilize their influence to promote change. Diana's relationship with the Queen. Diana and Queen Elizabeth II had a complicated relationship marked by underlying tension and times of respect for one another. At first, Diana's charm and the positive attention she brought to the royal family were valued by the Queen. However, their relationship deteriorated when Diana's private issues were made public. The Queen, who had a reputation for being stoic, found it challenging to comprehend Diana's candor and emotional transparency on her marriage and mental health. The Queen was especially outraged by Diana's choice to conduct the bombshell panorama interview without royal clearance, which widened the rift even more. Notwithstanding these difficulties, the Queen appreciated Diana's commitment to her sons and acknowledged her unique talent for human connection. The Queen's tardy public response to Diana's passing sparked outrage, leading to a rare televised speech praising her influence. Their partnership exemplified the conflict between modernity and tradition and the more significant difficulties the monarchy faced in adjusting to a changing world. The role of security measures. The suitability of Diana's security measures is one of the ongoing debates surrounding her passing. Instead of her customary royal protection officers, Diana relied on a private security squad that Mohamed Al-Fayed had hired on the night of the crash. Since then, some have questioned why someone with Diana's level of public notoriety did not have stronger protection, especially in light of the paparazzi's constant scrutiny. Concerns regarding the selection of the individuals tasked with her safety were further raised when it was discovered that Henri, the driver of the unfortunate vehicle, was intoxicated. The choice to avoid photographers using an unconventional path through the Pont de la Mare tunnel has also been closely examined. Some contend the tragedy might have been avoided with more excellent preparation and adherence to accepted procedures. Conspiracy theories and public debate are still fueled by the unclear responsibility and unanswered concerns surrounding the decisions made that evening. The role of friends and confidants. Throughout her most trying times, Diana was greatly assisted by her tight group of confidants and friends. Her emotional anchors were people like Paul Beryl, her butler, who provided a secure environment for her to vent her frustrations and anxieties. Beryl famously referred to himself as the only man she ever trusted, and his subsequent disclosures have offered a close-up look at her life. Close friends like designer Gianni Versace, who respected Diana's strength and elegance, and Rosa Mockton, who joined her on humanitarian missions, also comforted her. Diana's yearning for authenticity in a world of convention and scrutiny was brought to light by these connections. Her dependence on confidants wasn't without criticism. Some claimed she was too trustworthy, which resulted in betrayals and media leaks. Nevertheless, Diana's friendships demonstrated her intense yearning for understanding and connection, qualities that won her admiration from individuals worldwide. Diana's charismatic public image. Diana became a worldwide celebrity due to her unmatched charisma, distinguishing her from other royals. Whether reassuring a patient near death, embracing a toddler in a hospital, or conversing with strangers at public events, she possessed a unique talent for connecting with people. Her kindness and sincere concern for others generated an emotional connection that cut over social and cultural divides. Diana frequently gave the impression that she spoke to people one-on-one rather than a large audience during her public appearances. Because of her relatability, she was dubbed the People's Princess. Her appeal went beyond formal events. Millions of people were won over by her unguarded moments, such as her humorous public interactions with her sons. Diana's influence endures decades after her passing because of her ability to combine glitz and genuineness, making her a timeless symbol of humanity and compassion. The influence of childhood trauma. Diana's early years were characterized by emotional turmoil, significantly impacting her relationships and personality. Long-lasting wounds were caused by her parents' contentious divorce when she was just 7 years old. Custody disputes followed Diana's mother, Frances's departure from the family home, leaving Diana with a lasting sense of abandonment. Diana, raised in Althorp's aristocratic but emotionally aloof society, battled feelings of inferiority and a need for approval and love. Her vulnerabilities in her marriage to Prince Charles were exacerbated by these insecurities, which later appeared in her relationships. Notwithstanding these difficulties, Diana's life experiences also helped her develop the empathy and sensitivity that characterized her humanitarian activities. She frequently expressed her desire to end the cycle of emotional neglect by giving William and Henri the emotional stability she lacked. One of the most admirable parts of Diana's legacy is her capacity to turn her suffering into empathy for others. The role of Henri Paul. Henri Paul, the temporary head of security at the Ritz Hotel in Paris, played a contentious part in the circumstances surrounding Diana's death. He was assigned to drive Diana and Dodi Fayed as they tried to avoid the paparazzi on that fatal night. Paul's blood alcohol content was more than 3 times the French legal limit, according to later investigations, which raised severe concerns about his judgment and suitability for the position. His reckless driving through the Pont de la Mort tunnel further contributed to the tragic result. Critics contend that the hotel's security staff made a grave error in judgment by depending on Paul, even though he appeared intoxicated. His legacy is further complicated by conspiracy theories about his activities, such as claims of bribery or coercion. Even while Paul was unquestionably a significant factor in the collision, his story brings to light structural problems like the careless demands of celebrity culture and the lack of proper protection for prominent individuals. The cultural impact of her death. Diana's passing marked a turning point in world culture, changing people's feelings about loss, celebrity, and the monarchy. Following her death, there was an extraordinary outpouring of emotion, and people from all walks of life publicly showed their grief, revealing a change in social standards. Institutions, especially the British monarchy, were compelled to reconsider their strategy for public participation due to this collective mourning. The royal family's first, subdued response was criticized by many, who saw it as an indication of their disinterest in the populace's feelings. Diana's passing also spurred deeper discussions regarding the perils of constant media attention and the human cost of celebrity. Although paparazzi culture is still very much in place, her death catalyzed changes in media methods. In a broader sense, Diana's impact changed how society views vulnerability and genuineness in public personalities, setting the standard for future leaders and celebrities who want to establish a personal connection with their fans. Diana's philanthropy with HIV/AIDS awareness. Diana's efforts to increase public knowledge of HIV/AIDS were brave and revolutionary, especially at a period when stigma and false information about the illness were pervasive. She notably dispelled common beliefs and anxieties about HIV transmission in 1987 when she shook hands with an HIV-positive guy sans gloves. This gesture embodied her empathy and resolve to use her position for good, which was caught in infamous photos. Diana's efforts went beyond token gestures. She visited hospitals, spoke with patients, and collaborated closely with groups that offer services and support to those living with HIV/AIDS. Her deeds made the illness more relatable and inspired others to treat sufferers with empathy rather than dread. As Diana promoted the cause in Africa and other areas badly affected by the epidemic, her activism also highlighted the crisis' worldwide scope. In addition to saving lives, her dedication to this cause established a standard for celebrities to use their platform to advance social change. Her relationship with the press post-divorce. Diana's relationship with the media changed dramatically following her 1996 divorce from Prince Charles. She became more intentional in using the media to advance her humanitarian efforts and mold her narrative after being released from the restrictions of royal protocol. Using this calculated tactic, she could draw attention to important issues such as HIV/AIDS awareness and landmine clearance and make sure they got international notice. But for Diana, the press continued to be a double-edged sword. She continued to be subjected to intrusive examination of her personal life, even as she utilized it as a vehicle for activism. Her romances, especially those with Dodi Fayed, were relentlessly covered by tabloids who painstakingly documented every step she took. To recover control of her image, Diana allegedly collaborated with a few journalists to present her version of the tale. Despite these attempts, her terrible demise was eventually exacerbated by the paparazzi's persistent intrusion, highlighting the delicate balance between privacy and celebrity. Diana's relationship with her siblings. Diana shared a complex and loving relationship with her siblings, Sarah, Jane, and Charles Spencer. Being the youngest, Diana frequently looked to her elder siblings for approval and support, especially during trying times. Because she dated Prince Charles for a short time before introducing him to Diana, Sarah Spencer had a special place in Diana's life. Jane, who married into the Astor dynasty, was discreet and listened to Diana when she was having marital problems. One of the most remarkable homages to Diana's legacy is the moving eulogy given at her funeral by her younger brother, Charles Spencer, who had a close relationship with her. Despite sporadic conflicts, especially those involving media attention and familial obligations, the Spencer siblings came together to put up a united front at Diana's funeral. Even though their adult lives varied, they remained connected because of their shared history at Althorpe and the horrors they experienced as a family. The role of the Spencer family legacy. Diana's personality and public persona were influenced by her aristocratic heritage as a member of the prominent Spencer family. Diana was given a feeling of responsibility and a connection to history by the Spencers, one of Britain's oldest and most powerful noble families. Diana was surrounded by reminders of her lineage while growing up in the family's stately mansion, Althorpe, notably the paintings of her ancestors that lined the grand hallways. Her outlook on life was shaped by her legacy, which combined tradition and modernity. Diana frequently used her upbringing to help her negotiate the challenges of royal life, balancing her desire to relate to ordinary people and the demands of her aristocratic heritage. After her passing, Diana's ultimate resting place on the estate served as a reminder of her unwavering ties to her family, and Althorpe became a destination for followers and admirers. Her memory is still partly preserved by the Spencer legacy, ensuring her achievements are honored for many years. Public reaction to the royal family's response. One of the most controversial elements of the tragedy was the public's response to the royal family's handling of Diana's passing. The royal family immediately withdrew to Balmoral, putting Princes William and Harry's welfare first. However, many people expected a more overt display of mourning, and this decision was widely condemned as cold and disconnected. A significant source of public indignation was the absence of a flag at half-mast over Buckingham Palace, which represented the monarchy's alleged lack of concern. Queen Elizabeth II responded to criticism by praising Diana's attributes and acknowledging the public's profound sadness in a rare televised speech. In addition to the royal family's attendance at Diana's funeral, this action assisted in repairing their damaged public image. The episode laid the groundwork for significant changes in royal protocol and public participation in the years to come by highlighting the growing demand for a monarchy that is more emotionally accessible. Diana's legacy in modern royalty. The behavior and morals of Diana's kids, Prince William and Prince Henri, clearly reflect her influence on contemporary royalty. Both have adopted their mother's caring style, using their positions to promote causes such as veterans' welfare, environmental preservation, and mental health. Diana left a legacy of emotional transparency, which is reflected in William and Harry's forthright conversations about their battles with mental health and sorrow. Diana's wish to balance tradition and authenticity is also reflected in the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's attempts to redefine royal duties and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's emphasis on family life. Her focus on active parenting is evident in how both brothers put their kids' welfare first. Even though the royal family has changed significantly since Diana's time, her lasting impact serves as a reminder of the value of human connection, compassion, and resiliency. A new generation of royals and admirers worldwide are still motivated by her legacy.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon